sooner or later it's going to say this hangout on there is live. We're live.
Yeah.
All right. So, to be honest with you, I haven't really done anything with property-based testing in like maybe like 3 months. I'm going to be doing something with it soon for work, but I'm going to be struggling to
That's all right.
help. So,
Struggle together. We probably need to just fix up the code a bit as well, because the YouTube code for the Nikeza has the you need to call a function first to get the YouTube context, and then you need to pass that context into another function, and they're in the same module and they're both in the same accessor space. So
all right. Well,
it might make sense to even if we just refactor the code, that might just be enough.
hold up for 1 second. My dog is looking at me weird. Hold up. Yeah. All right, so the dog's out there. Open up the blind so I can see her. All right. So, yeah. The biggest issue that I have with FS check is getting the various DLLs, aka dependencies, to play nice together. And
Really?
so I find that I can't just grab the latest versions of, how does it work? Like FS check, F sharp core, in unit, X unit. Like I have to pick out specific version numbers of DLLs in order to get it to compile. And then I have to have this config file that, yep.
All right, I'm back.
I see on my phone it says Adam joined. Well, I guess you had a session set up already. On my phone,
maybe, I don't
know. If he cares, then he could join. I don't know. Anyway, I was saying that I was struggling with versioning issues, and that not only do I have to pick specific versions, not the latest versions, but I have to pick earlier versions of various DLLs. I then have to create a config file that specifies some type of range of versioning so that the runtime is happy. So, make a long story short, I find that in the past I have had to do a lot of ceremony, and I don't understand why things just don't work with the latest and greatest. But that's it.
So that'll definitely be something to kind of look a bit more into, and maybe kind of hopefully, maybe if we can find the issues that you're having specifically, we can make a pull request against the project.
I'm also told that Packet attempts to alleviate all these problems. I use NuGet Manager, and so
we're using .NET Core, so I think it uses NuGet under the hood by default.
Okay.
And I actually I was talking to someone the other day about integrating Packet with .NET Core, and you need to explicitly put in the FS proj a configuration.
Don't know anything about .NET Core. I mean, I understand the intent, but that's about it. So, but we don't have to go into that.
No, yes, we can probably see it.
All right, so am I sharing my screen, or are you sharing your screen?
I can share mine, and then we
Okay.
can kind of walk through it from there.
I have a very strong feeling that we're just going to be splashing, trying to get a hello world example put together, just because it's not recent in my memory. But
uh, that's fine.
uh,
How do you do the screen share and Hangouts again? Screen share. Tie screen application window. Let's try doing the application window. There we are.
okay.
And so a way to. Okay. So I think that's pinned it to me now. All right. Welcome to the exciting world of the YouTube integration.
Why is it only taking up a third of the screen?
It is?
You probably can't see what I see.
No, I
Yeah,
can't.
it's a third of the
Uh,
screen, and it's right in the middle. So it's not like I see the entire editor. It's just a third. I see your editor that takes up a third of my screen when you're sharing it.
all right. So what does it look like
It looks
now?
better now. It takes up uh, 3/4 of the screen.
It's interesting.
What did you do?
I full screen the editor.
Uh, okay. I mean that might be okay to work with. It's a lot better than what you had earlier.
I have to up the font. And I got my calendar event reminding me that we've got this in half an hour, but I actually got the time zones wrong.
Uh, yeah. Oh. Sorry, everything revolves around United States Eastern Time Zone.
I thought it was the Pacific time zone everything revolved around. Isn't it like all Silicon Valley?
No, East Coast is better. So
Right. So here's our exciting API.
how do I minimize? Is there a way I can minimize? I guess not. All right. So how do I select your screen? All right, showing your screen now. All right. So what do we want to do? Is the intent is to write a couple of tests, or is the intent to identify refactoring opportunities, or yes?
Both.
Okay.
Right. So the first thing that's probably a bit obvious is that everything is in like one giant module. I don't need the terminal at the moment. So the first thing you need is this YouTube service. Pretty much everything hangs off it. This function is really just a helper function for just because the YouTube API is mutable.
Okay.
And same for this one here. So really the only thing that needs to be public is the YouTube service function and the upload list function, which I guess you could call get upload list. So the
Okay.
first thing is how do we internalize all the other stuff?
Short answer is I don't know. It's my first time looking at it. So,
Because you can't, in a module you can't just do this, can you? I can't just go private. Can I?
there is private. There is. I don't use it that much, but I mean, you can't. But that is. Hold up. Give me a second, because I'm trying to figure out. So private supported. I just struggle to remember how. Now, I don't think there's such thing as internal in F sharp, which I think is what we probably want, because if you separate all that other stuff into a separate file, if you have a separation between the public facing uh, functions that a client can call and everything else is kind of like internalized, like I don't think F sharp has or supports the internal modifier.
So we
Could be
probably
wrong.
need to have another module for the internal stuff.
Uh, ugh. How about this? How about we just try to write a test for the behavior that's exposed or the service that's exposed, and then we can troubleshoot how to organize the other logic or the functions later on.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
All right, so
I don't want to get overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed easily. So, all right.
that's all right. So what's the first thing we need to do?
Well, so you said that the exposed functions for a client or the YouTube service, and you said something else.
Yeah, so the YouTube service, which gives us access to the YouTube API and
And you said
the upload list. So the upload list takes the channel list parameters, which are either the account, like the channel ID, or the username.
Okay, so let's scroll back up to the top to the YouTube service thingy, just because I have OCD and it's at the top, and I like working from top down. So that's it.
Yeah,
You, you well, so this doesn't matter, but I forget when you're supposed to use the new keyword. Um,
I think it's the C sharp.
well, for example, in F sharp, it's not necessary unless how's this work? I believe the new uh, re- keyword is necessary when you're or is recommended by convention when the object that you're instantiating is disposable. I think that's when you use the new on it. Is this I believe, right? Again, my memory is foggy. By convention, if it's just a arbitrary object that doesn't implement iDisposable, then I believe that the conventions are that you don't use new. You just say my object equals, and then you call the constructor. You don't need the new. But that's just me nitpicking.
Fine. So find out why we need new here, because it complains when I take it out.
More likely, the lint tool is probably complaining because it is disposable.
Ah, you're right. There we are. It's disposable.
I'm so smart. I can't believe I remember all this. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So
yeah.
that's cool. You can go put it back.
Okay, so it's disposable. So does that mean that my current implementation is leaking connections?
Mm, no, my understanding is that what's beautiful about F sharp is that when a when the logic of a when the function exits, it automatically calls dispose on on all the objects that were declared or instantiated within the function.
Ah,
That's cool, ain't it?
yeah, no, that's pretty handy. So whenever the this finishes and returns its result, so the upload list. Okay,
That's my understanding.
no, that's fine.
So I have to make sure I put up disclaimers.
I think I put the new in there because it was complaining about the iDisposable stuff and I had forgotten about it. So it's a good thing that we now know that's disposable.
Yeah.
All right, so the first thing is we
I'm not okay. This is me being nitpicky, which
go ahead.
you scroll back up,
Yep.
and this is probably more religious than anything. So
Yep.
you don't have to comply with my OCD,
That's
but
fine.
you're within the YouTube service function at the bottom. You have application name equals and then Nikeza video YouTube.
Yep.
So the first thing that jumps out at me is it okay to leave that hard coded right there, or should we have that as the literal? Define a literal with that string, and then the application name equals the literal value.
So app name equals. Oh, goddamn.
I think there's a attribute called. There's an attribute that you say literal on top.
Okay.
So within braces, angle brackets, yeah.
I could spell.
I can't spell either.
Oh, wait, no.
Literal.
Literal attribute?
ERAL.
Yeah. Is that the one you meant? The literal
Yeah,
attribute?
yeah.
All right. I like how it tells me that it's an attribute.
You could delete attribute though.
Oh, so it's just literal.
I mean, it could be both, but I think when it pretty much knows based on the brackets and angle brackets, and then under that,
Okay, so the type is literal attribute. Yep.
yeah. And so if you hover over your app name, because I forget the actual syntax, consider app name to be Pascal. Okay. And is that happy just like that?
Yeah, it seems to be happy. So it's a
Okay.
value of app name of type string.
All right. So that's cool. You probably want to put some spacing in between content string and literal, but
Oh right, yeah, the like magical spacing thing is a bit kind of it adds spaces where they don't actually exist.
I was talking about above where you have the discriminated union of detailed snippet and then literal. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
So
that's fine.
cool. Now that my OCD is satisfied or content, you're saying that we want to write a test to test this, and so this YouTube service is new YouTube service, and then within the constructor you say basic client service dot initializer and API key. So the question here's my question is this YouTube service really worth testing? Is there any like business logic in it that we implemented or that you implemented that can actually be tested, or are we really attempting or considering writing a test for some external system?
This block of code, probably not. One thing I do know that will complain is down here. So if for whatever reason this response object here that we're getting back from the API is an empty array, then calling head will throw an exception.
So let's mm, let's consider that. And so the API, if it doesn't have anything, it returns an empty array, right?
Yes.
I have a dream that in the future, 5 years from now, APIs will return a maybe, or in this case, within F sharp, an option where it's some or none.
Yeah.
Within Elm, it's just or nothing. So the question is, are we content with pattern matching on either pattern matching or if else condition on an empty list, or do we want to basically convert that empty list into a sum or none and pattern match on that? I don't really care. I think the sum or none is more idiomatic.
Yeah, because we're also returning an async sequence of videos, which I suppose you'd have an empty sequence, but yeah, I don't think sequence needs to be optional.
Like, nah. When is it? Is it likely that there's a YouTube channel that doesn't have videos?
Well, if they haven't uploaded anything. So if you're
But the
putting,
whole point of YouTube is to of a YouTube channel to have videos, and so like
yeah, but you don't have to have them in the upload, and I don't know if you can actually get rid of the upload channel. So we're making a very hard assumption here that there's always um, an upload. I guess the API also makes the assumption because where is it? It's like when you can call, yeah, yeah. So related playlist uploads.
so here's where I'm at within like trying to understand functional programming.
Yep,
I'm thinking out loud with you, right?
that's
Is
the whole point of this. Yep.
okay. My so as of right now, my my thought process or my experience or lack of says when you are a client and you're relying on a service or a server, if that server returns you a single instance of a value, then you want to use the maybe or option depending on the language that you're using, right? In this
Yep.
case, we're talking about F sharp. If you're relying on the server and the server may return you a valid value or may not give you anything at all because there may be network issues or there just may be there's nothing to return, then I believe you want to use an option. If that's when you expect a single value from a server. If you expect the server to return you a collection of values, that's when you want to use a list. That's what I believe, right?
Right. So
In
the
this,
API is doing the right thing by giving us a list.
if we expect a list of videos or
Yeah.
uploaded videos. So yeah, so maybe it doesn't make sense to write another function to convert that to some or none. All right.
Right. So in this sense, all we really need to fix up in this is to have it because we can't use head. I suppose the really kind of empirical way would be to do something like this would be to do if was it
That head is for what? What was the intent of using head?
so because good question. Okay, what am I doing here? So we get the downloader and the downloader returns us.
We only want the uploads. That's what you put next to
Yeah.
head. Is
So this returns us a list. So yeah, okay, right, okay. I've worked out what my own code is doing. There's lots of kind of like assignment because I think that could be refactored away to be a little bit more readable. Right. Okay. So we get this channel list request here, where we request the list of all the channels for a particular user. And then we take the head because we're always going to in the function we always want to get the uploads list.
so the head is a list.
So the head is a channel.
Okay,
Right.
you have to bear with me because
That's fine.
the comment says the comment is on the line of sequence.head and it says we only want the upload. So that makes me think that head is a list of uploads.
Yeah. So channel list. So downloader tag channels. Oh god, I have to look up what the damn YouTube API says again because I was it took me like an hour to work out which API call I was even meant to be making.
Yeah, I guess my question is why do we need sequence.head? Why don't we just process the channel list.items? That I guess that's what my question is because I never studied the YouTube API.
No, that's a good question. So something that I need to.
All right, so let me go back. And whenever I start spinning my wheels and trying to figure out why I did something a certain type of way, I try to, this is hard for me to do. I try to take a step back if I'm able to consciously know that I'm struggling to figure out something, which usually I'm so deep into a problem, I can't step out and tell myself, chill out. The intent of this is to basically take the YouTube videos that of a channel or a user ID.
Yep.
Is that the same thing, or are those two different things? A channel
They're two
versus
different things.
okay.
So your username is like B. No, not B. It's what's your Twitter handle? That's the same username on YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. So that's a username. Whereas if you go to the Lambda cartel, that random gibberish of strings and numbers, that's an ID.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the intent is to the client will enable a user to add a source. A source is a platform such as WordPress or YouTube. And also, in addition to a platform property, the other property that makes up a source is the actual ID, which is a username or a channel ID. Okay. So when we look at this upload list, we want to upload within the frame of the server or the services. We're trying to retrieve the videos of a channel or a username. With that said, when we say let videos equal channel list dot items, what's this downloader? This downloader up here says download, or hold up, down L upload videos data.
Yeah, that's a typo.
No. So, and then it passes it. Ah, shoot, hold up.
Yeah, so I got the YouTube API here, and I think by only taking the head is possibly wrong, because if you go to the documentation, you go channels list and then you pass in an ID, what we get back is a list of channels, which I guess makes sense. So YouTube channels list, and we want to get back the details.
It seems like this downloader takes. Okay, let me go back. Let me go back. So ultimately, I'm not sure if it's this upload list function, but ultimately we want the server to return a collection of metadata about a video.
Yep.
Right? The title, the description, maybe the timestamp. I didn't include that as a requirement. And the most important, the URL, right? And so that's ultimately what we want to do. This downloader function appears to take this downloader function appears to take. Hold up. You have to bear with me.
That's fine. So
I think what we
takes a
want to do
channel
is
object.
I think you want to remove sequence.head and you just want to iterate. You want to take all, you basically want to do a for each, except we're doing F functional programming. And for each item within this channel list of items, you just want to call the downloader, right?
Yeah, so we need to get the channel. So we're asking the YouTube API for a list of channels for either an ID or a username. Now, I think the ID will only ever return a list of one, but I think a username can have multiple channels.
Okay, with that said, the client, my understanding is the client is giving us the specific channel ID. or the
or it's
username.
give us a username. So I got this get or else. So
Oh, because of the username. Oh, hold on, I'm confused. All right, I'm listening.
yeah, okay. So you've got the channel list request parameters, and in the API, you either have a null value for the ID, which means you want to use the username, or vice versa. So whichever is ID or username is not null will then give us a channel request. We then execute the request asynchronously, and we get back a list of channels. In case of the ID, which I think was the first one I was programming for, the first item in the list is always the one you want. But
Okay.
for the username, they may have multiple channels. I
Okay.
think. I don't know a YouTuber who has multiple channels associated to their name.
So you said the first item in the list represents what? You said
So
it's what we want.
yeah, okay. So the first item in the list for an ID represents the channel itself, and that gives us back a channel object.
So maybe we should make that clear in the code. So sequence.head. So the channel itself, we should probably replace sequence.head with an alias called, I don't know, with an alias that describes what you just said, like something channel. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So how do you do an alias? And is it just
Well, no, no,
alias?
no, 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 no. I choose the wrong word. So, like, say, oh crap, how do you do this? Yeah, and then sequence ahead because that rec is going to represent a list, right?
So the rep represents a. Oh wait, no.
Your channel list of items. That's all you're doing is no. You have it right.
Yeah, channel list response. Yeah, I was just trying to look at what the type was.
Okay.
Um, so because I don't, it might be able to infer it, but not from the channel list items. That was right.
And then sequence hit.
Right. Got it. Using too many different programming languages in one day.
Yeah.
Channel list response.
It's a list, right? And so yeah.
Yeah, so channel list response.
Well,
I think
you have to add a list
tells
at
us.
the end of it. Space list. I thought.
No, this is the yeah. So see, it takes a sequence or channel list response and returns a channel list response. Wait, how the hell is that?
No. What I'm saying is remember the sequence head. That is actually a function that relies on a list as an argument, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is we're simply just we're replacing sequence.head with a descriptive name that aliases it. It does the same thing, but we just want it to be clear because right now we struggled on, hold on, what's sequence.head? What does it mean? So we're basically replacing channel list.items pipes into and then get first channel, right? So that get first channel is taking a list of whatever channel list items type is.
Yes, which
Which
is
is
a
list of channels.
sequence of channel. Yeah.
Uh,
But can I?
so it's channel space list, I thought.
Yeah. I can't tell what it is. Can it? Does it sequence dot?
You may not even have to specify do you have to specify the type?
Well, sequence.head expects an A, so
Well, A is generic.
yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't know what to do with it.
Well, no, what I'm saying is like try deleting the actual that part.
Yeah.
And
Oh wait. Okay, sorry. So
and
now it's have an A to a B.
oh,
But
okay.
we
Control
need
Z,
to.
Control Z. Well, list. No, you're right. All right, my bad.
Yeah, because what I take is I take a channel list response which contains an items.
Got it.
That's all right. I'm trying to remember. I did this like a fortnight ago and trying to remember how the hell it all works. So channel list items
Uh,
returns an items. What's
It
wrong
definitely
here?
has to be a list, though. Your parameter needs to be form of a list.
And that's what the items is.
Oh,
Items.
that's what you're saying. Okay, my bad.
Yeah. See, like
But
if we copy paste this up here, that should be the same thing.
well, no, it's your. How do I say this? Your remember that we're replacing sequence.head with a function
Oh
that's more descriptive. So sequence.head it still takes a list regardless.
no. It's because if you don't put the parentheses, it assumes that the colon type is the return, which is why before it had a
Okay.
channel. So now.
Oh, so you're replacing two of those lines. All right, I get it now. I was just
Yeah,
focused
sorry,
on the one
I
line.
hadn't deleted the other. Yeah, I hadn't deleted the other one. So channel list response returns a channel. What are you complaining about?
You need to provide it an argument, which is the channel dot items.
Yeah. Yes.
So you could probably pipe channel dot items to get first channel.
I did see that someone's proposed that to add the pipe operator to JavaScript. So
Oh God. And this is what slows down functional programming languages because the monolithic languages keep adopting everything from functional to give people a reason not to just transition.
yeah, but at some point they become functional. So
Well, JavaScript is everything, right?
yeah, all right. So let's not get sidetracked.
Yep.
But no,
So everything
that's a
compiles
good
so
thing.
far.
Everything checks, so that means F# compiles, right? Oh wow, that is tiny. All right, so if you cd server, let me just try to change that. What's it? It's terminal font size 18. Yeah, that should be a bit easier for you to read. Okay, so it's .NET. I keep wanting to type .NET Core, but it's not. Should probably do a restore.
All right, so this let upload list takes a YouTube service and it takes a channel list requirement params. Let downloader equal download video data YouTube.
So this do bit is kind of a bit of a cognitive load, so it could probably be moved out into a function.
This is a stupid question. That downloader, which is the first line of upload list, is that the example of partial application where you are satisfying the last argument with get first channel, or you're passing get first channel as the last argument to complete the function?
Yeah.
All right.
So we got two arguments. We've got the YouTube service and then we got the channel. So the downloader requires a YouTube service. So we pass that in, and then we just have a downloader, which then just accepts the channel.
Okay.
Right. So got all the packages.
So this upload list. See, like even if we wanted to test this, it's taking types that. Can you go to the definition of YouTube service? Hold on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is this what you wanted? This pop up?
Yeah. If everything were just primitive types, then I would say, yeah, let's go ahead and start writing tests. But I'm not sure how deep it goes. Like, for example, some of these, the caption resource type and the activities resource, like, is there any way that we could go see the definition of those?
The capture resource type.
Yeah.
Which one's that?
When you hovered over that.
Oh, the YouTube one?
Yeah.
The captions resource. Probably if I bring up the docs. I don't know how you can navigate binaries in VS Code.
Yeah, the thought process is this really a candidate for testing, right? Since it looks like it relies. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if this is actually a good candidate to actually do some property-based testing. And if it were all primitive types, hints, strings, ints, bools, etc., I'm like, why not? You know, because, well, I mean, I guess it's okay still, because property-based testing will still.
You have to define a generator. So I've used Scala check a little, and in that it does have the generators for the primitives, but for complex objects you have to create your own generator. Because YouTube service is such a big API, as well as all the objects it returns, abstracting YouTube service into an internal module for the library would probably be something you would have to do first before we could really apply testing.
So what if we just start off with writing a happy path unit test for upload lists? You think that's something that's doable?
Probably.
Okay.
So we need to.
I usually create. I'm listening.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say we probably need to abstract YouTube service away, and that we probably need something that takes the YouTube service and then just exposes the things that we do want.
They're so smart. That makes sense.
But yeah, I don't know. Is that API wrapping at that point? I don't know. But I don't know how you would pass in something that satisfies the YouTube service type that we could create in a test.
Well, at the end, this upload list is returning what? What is a video like?
So it's just a string and another string. So it's the video ID and the title.
So to your point, why not abstract away? Why not wrap around the YouTube service if the return type is something that primitive? You know what I mean? Like,
right. Okay.
The next question is it overkill? I don't think so. I think it's a fun exercise.
Yeah. Make a new module called internal. Where do I want to say? God damn it! Why is this file explorer always just terrible?
Use a Mac.
Well, the next version of Mac Sierra apparently has a write on copy file system, so everything is like instantly copied until you need to edit it. It's brilliant.
So this upload list is
What are you complaining about?
YouTube service and this channel rec params is a, where is that at? Channel rec params, where is that being used? Channel rec params. That username. Okay.
Okay,
so are we first defining our wrapper types?
Yeah, so that's what I created this internal module so that the idea is that we only want to expose, we kind of want to obfuscate the fact that we're using that YouTube API, I guess. So we want to have a object which
even though the project or DLL is called Nikeza.YouTube, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it returns information about YouTube. How it does that's what we're going to internalize.
Yeah. Okay.
At least that's the thinking so far. Right. So first of all, maybe let's start at the outset. So we need upload lists. It takes a YouTube service. The YouTube service, all it really needs is a channel. And what is actually needed on that channel?
Well, we know for a fact that the client is supplying the username or the ID.
So the user always needs to provide the channel list parameters. So
well, also about the Nikeza client. The Nikeza client is just passing in a username as of right now.
Oh, okay. So we're not even getting the ID.
Well, okay. Let me say that differently. The Nikeza client is passing in the ID. She doesn't. I don't think. You notice how Nikeza has a sexual organ now. Like she. I'll call her she.
Has a what now? What are we making again?
Nikeza is a girl because I'm referring to her as she. So Nikeza.
Okay, let's give her the West.
She's providing an ID. The server, as of right now, Nikeza is providing an ID to the server. The server needs to figure out if that ID is a username or a channel.
Oh, yes.
The client, I don't think the client should know should have to worry about those details. I think the server, because ultimately I want the client to be as dumbed down and as thin as possible, because if this starts gaining traction, then the next step, whether you guys would like to continue on this project or move on to something else, is to build a mobile and have all this logic just lifted into the server, and the server is able to interpret and figure out things, and the clients are just very, very dumb and thin.
Yep.
Okay.
Right, so we take in an ID, so we don't actually know which one it is. So we need to have a username ID and a channel ID. So we don't actually know which one is valid yet. Return unit for the time being, just so it stop complaining at me. Oh, I wish that would stop bouncing.
And this is something that may not be worth having a conversation over. But
yeah,
does YouTube? You already know what I'm about to ask.
Does YouTube what?
Does YouTube allow a username ID Is it possible for there to be a username ID and also a channel ID that are the same?
No, it throws an exception if you assign both the ID and the username.
No, I'm saying, is there such thing as the client passing in an ID and that ID exists for both a user and a channel?
No.
Are you
So
sure? I mean,
if
all else fails, first come, first serve. Like if the first thing we do is username and we get a result, then that's it.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So you have it so you do the request for the username. So let's get
I'm
username.
glad you're doing the coding and not me.
So in this case,
Because
let's
I would be spinning my
hard
wheels.
code the result, and then it's just like get
Yeah. Because
channel
that's
ID equals. So we get a hit on the channel, and then we just need to kind of switch and take whichever one gave us a result, and then actually we can just combine both the results. So it'd be like seg dot concat.
that's actually pretty smart. And then we put the responsibility on the user to filter out. Again, this should be a very, I don't know if this how common this is. It probably
Uh,
is. YouTube should protect against that.
well,
Like,
YouTube knows when it's an ID versus knows when it's a username. I believe the URL is different. So when it's a channel, it's slash channel, and when it's a user, it's slash user. So YouTube's internal APIs know exactly which one they're
you know
dealing
what? You know what? All right, I take it back. The client will have an option box of username or channel. They select one or the other,
with.
and that's it.
uh,
Like because it's that person owns it, right? So that person knows if it's a channel or if it's just their own little personal user account. So I take back.
yeah, that might make sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't take that much effort for the Nikeza client to ask the user, is this a okay? We're adding a source, but let me know if this source is for is your username a channel or just a normal user, and that's it. Like because it's the whole point is for them to basically share their links to their content, and so they should know it, and it's not asking them that much. It's not taking
I
them that much effort.
I think you might be onto something, but I don't think we need it to tell us which one. So what because how do they link the account? Do they just go to their profile and copy in like um the list to their channel? So where's the chat for this? So like if I send you your one, you
Okay.
can see that it has slash user. So we know from that it's a user.
And what if for a channel? It's going to really have slash channel?
Yep. So it's going to have slash channel. So that's a channel that I run.
Okay. So with that said,
Or it just has slash C.
C is the same thing as channel?
Yeah, except channel. That's the channel name. So that you may have to do up by username.
All right. So the client is going to basically prepare to give Nikeza's server, or the client is getting ready to ask Nikeza's server for links by passing in the source. The source is some ID and well
Type.
YouTube, right? Because it's a platform and an ID. In addition to that, the Nikeza client is going to say, "Hey, this ID is of channel or this ID is of user," and so there's really three parameters or three arguments that Nikeza client is passing to Nikeza server, or the client's passing to server. It's the ID, it's the ID type, hence
Yes.
user or channel, and the other one is obvious. It's YouTube. But the thing
Yeah.
is Nikeza is more than just YouTube. Nikeza is Stack Overflow. It's YouTube. It's hopefully Vimeo. It's WordPress. It's hopefully one day Medium.com. So that's why I'm kind of saying I keep saying YouTube, even though we're within the scope of YouTube.
Yeah, well, a service doesn't have to share the same. They're not. They're all going to have probably slightly different APIs that require slightly different amounts of information. But I guess we didn't end up doing any testing. But I guess this has been more of a kind of YouTube API review. And yeah, it's worked out quite good because now we know. Well, we think we know that we need to pass Nikeza's client needs to pass to the server a record which contains free identifying properties, which the server then knows which APIs to call.
Okay. Yeah.
And does that make sense?
So far, it does.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad when it makes sense. Okay, so
I'm sure we'll make some discoveries and some things may change as other platforms get implemented. Or how do I say this?
Yeah, and
yeah,
and I suppose that's fine because I'm probably going to implement one or two of them in different languages and different services, so they'll might be a bit microservicey.
Okay. All right. So what do we have here? We have username ID, get username vid, get channel ID. Maybe for the sake, maybe we should just spell out video. Forget username vid.
It is.
On the get uploads ID, the third line down, get username vid. Maybe we should just make that video. No. I'm saying we should probably spell out the entire word. You have get username vid equals, and then brackets.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was going to come up and do this later because
Okay.
This is clearly something which is a bit more than just kind of going through it. So I have a question. What does this literal do to the let definition?
So my understanding is literal is basically the way that you define a constant within F sharp.
Oh, okay.
That's my understanding.
Instead of it referring to that variable in memory, it will copy the contents and inline it everywhere.
My understanding is that, yes.
Oh, okay. Right. So if you're using Java, that'd be the same thing as a final static.
Yeah. This get uploads ID equals. It looks like all these lets that you have on the get uploads ID. Oh no, that may be okay. Ultimately, we're going to create a record to assign all those values into it. That's more of a question than a statement.
I guess that'd be something like type, like the verticalized stuff. So the ID value itself, which is a string. Then it's the ID type. The type is type So the ID type's either a username or it's a channel ID. Call that X because I can't be bothered naming it for the moment. And we don't need to know that we're YouTube because we are the YouTube library.
I don't think you need semicolons at the end, but that's just cosmetic. It doesn't matter.
Oh, when you do new lines. I know you do it.
It doesn't matter though.
No, that's fine. I just kind of add them out of habit. So this is a video. It's a video list request. Right, and I'm just going to leave that empty for now because implementing that is probably going to take more time than it's really worth sitting here talking through. You don't like that. Ah, screw you. Fix you later. Okay, so I've got some notes. Right, all right, awesome. And you can't remember how to like do, because yeah, I suppose the only thing I have left is to work out how we can make stuff private inside a module.
So you just all right. Let's find an example. What do you want to make private?
So this configure playlisting, which is totally internal, it's just to move all this mutable code up until a point where it's a little bit easier to read. Name's probably a bit long though.
What happens when you type in private on the left side of the let? Does it compile? Is there any square? What happens when you put it on the right side of the let? Well, that's probably not going to work. Hold up.
Accessibility modifiers should come immediately prior to the identifying name of it. Oh wait, no, you might be right. You're exactly right. Okay, so that's that thing solved.
So you could do that for all the methods. You could do that for all the functions that you deem should be private.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of like this.
And that works with discriminated unions too.
Oh, wait, really? So I could do this.
Well, you could do it at that scope. You should be able to do it at that scope as well as at the type private.
I can't do it on like just the named type. I can make the discriminated union itself private.
No, you could. I'm almost confident you could do it at the case value level. I would just have to look it up. No, that's not it. What if you do it before the pipe? What if you do it before the pipe? Is it happy? No. Oh no, that doesn't make sense. Okay, forget it. I'm almost confident you could do it though.
It's not complaining.
Well, that's because it thinks private is the actual member or a case value.
Oh,
yeah.
Because it does. Oh dear.
Hold up for a second. My dog is looking at me weird.
It's like, why are you yelling at your screen again? It's a Friday where you are, isn't it?
It's a Saturday morning.
Oh,
I was getting ready to hop on my. I wake up early, man. So after I took my dog out, I'm like, yo, it's really nice out here. It's still cool outside. There's the roads are pretty much clear, and this is at like 6:30 in the morning. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna hop on my bike. I'm gonna take off, and they're like, crap, freaking Mitch. I have a freaking session with him at in the morning. So I was like, all right, let me do this hangout. So it's cool though. It's this so far this can get published without us having to delete this video. I think we did pretty good.
Well, we might want to retitle it as, you know.
Oh yeah. That's fine. All right.
Yeah, two dudes learn F sharp on the fly.
Yeah, that too.
No, probably not that. Okay. All right. I think that's enough for that. Probably want to. Right, and go end the screen share. Yeah.
You want to make the hold up for one. Oh, okay. You got the screen share.
Yeah, because everything like I've got enough in kind of notes here, so we can refactor the library a bit, as well as kind of get it into a shape where I can work out whether or not there is anything to test. Because really, we're just kind of wrapping the C# library with the F# stuff so that we can. Well, it's a little bit easier to deal with stuff, and we don't have the whole API and get confused like we did trying to review it ourselves just then.
Okay. So, are we done with this session? I know the intent was to write a test or some tests. And do we archive that for another session?
I think so. I think it's not really in a state which writing a test is something that I can really wrap my head around.
Okay.
There's a few other things like how do you deal with recursive asynchronous stuff, which I think we could probably dig into for like hours.
I prefer not to be in on that conversation.
Yeah, kind of what I meant. Like I don't know.
That might be an OD conversation or an Adam.
Yeah, I know how to do. I know how to do it with like reactive extensions. Like that's super easy. You just call flat map.
Okay.
But with the async object, I don't like if you have an async that contains a sequence of asyncs. How do you just get an async or sequence?
Yeah, my mind's not there right now. Does the YouTube API force you to do asynchrony, for lack of a better term?
Good question.
Because if it doesn't, then why not postpone doing that? Why not just keep things synchronous and just keep it simple for right now until we have to finally confront it? That's what I would recommend if we're not constrained to do so.
Yeah, I suppose.
And then when we need to face that problem, if that problem ever comes up, at least we have a lot more information, a lot more knowledge, and then we could just go ahead and handle it. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's probably the very kind of MVP approach. I don't know. Or maybe I'll ask someone who knows a bit more about async. Or I'll just try to get RX to work inside F#. I did get it to work at one point when I was trying to get F# and Xamarin going. But F# and Xamarin is so painful.
Yeah, I still want someone to write a book on computation expressions, like in the real world, like when you actually use it, because I still struggle to figure out the advantages of using it based on real business problems that need to be implemented or solutions that need to be implemented for business problems. So that's why I can't really.
Yeah, like I don't know how async is written, but like using the computational expressions is pretty nice and pretty easy. Oh, hello, doggy.
She was attacking me while I was trying to talk to you. So
I think my sister has pretty much the same breed.
Miniature bull terrier.
Oh wait, no, okay. I thought it was something else. I thought it was like a fox terrier.
Nah, this is. You see the movie Friday After Next?
No.
Chico. Well, okay. You guys probably don't have the Target stores in Australia.
We have a store called Target, but I don't know if it's the same company.
Does it have a red bullseye on it?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the Target dog that you see in the
Oh, is it?
commercials. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Target's doing that well in Australia, so I don't see their commercials. Then again, I spend way too much time on the internet.
They had a huge security breach, I think, like 3 or 4 years ago.
All
Anyways,
right, we've gone completely off topic, and I think we should probably like wrap up the stream session of this part.
all right, that's what's up. Oh, well, good stuff, Mitch. And yeah, I'm gonna terminate this live session if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'm hitting stop broadcast in 3, 2, 1.